Hey everyone, Captain Chemo here, and this is chapter 4 of my HDR how-to guide. In this chapter, we will create our HDR photograph using Photomatix. Let's start off by checking out the photos we'll be using in this tutorial. This is the photo I showed you from chapter 3. It's a photo of a pier, and this is the underexposed image of that same photo, and then we'll go into the overexposed image of that photo. Alright, we're going to use these three. We're going to put them all together in Photomatix and create our HDR image. So let's get started. Let me go ahead and launch up Photomatix here. Alright, let's begin. The first thing we're going to do is click the Generate HDR Image button. And then we get a new window here, and what we want to do with this is just click Browse. We'll get another window, and this is the window that will allow us to select our photos that we want to use to create our HDR image. So go ahead and select your photos and click Open, and then click OK, and then you'll get a new window. This window has options. Let's not worry about them for now. We'll keep it simple. Click OK, and then we get another window here. This window is just Photomatix telling us that it got done merging the exposures, and it wants to know what we want to do with it, and we want to tone map it. Tone mapping is a way of us telling Photomatix to create an HDR image the way we want it to look. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to close this window here, the histogram. Alright, let's start tone mapping our image. I'm just going to go over the settings with you. The top settings here, we have two tabs. We have the detail enhancer and we have tone compressor. I rarely use tone compressor. You can use tone compressor if you want, but your options are limited here. Also, tone compressor is a good way of creating a more realistic HDR photo. But like I said, I only use detail enhancer, so I'm going to show you that. Alright, so let's begin with strength. Strength is, I usually keep strength at around 50 to 70. If you can crank it all the way up, it'll really bring out your image. With the color saturation, this is how you bring out your colors. You crank that up, it'll get more colorful. Luminosity, if you crank it all the way up, it'll get brighter. If you crank it down, it'll get darker. Something about Photomatix is it has a lot of different, or a lot of the sliders do almost the same thing. It either makes it lighter or makes it darker. It gets confusing as to which one you want to use to make it darker or make it lighter, so just keep that in mind. Micro contrast, I'll crank that up to get more contrast, but I usually keep it around 4 or 5. Smoothing, I actually click light mode and use low setting, and this is actually the first place I go when I start tone mapping my images. Here is click on light mode and then click on low setting. I do that because I get the best results from that, and I guess, you know, do what works best for you. Okay, so for tone settings, more ways of adjusting your light and dark areas here. If you want to crank up your white point all the way up, we'll just make it brighter. And usually I will always keep the black point rather close to the white point. Gamma, you can adjust your gamma by, going up or down. This will make it brighter or darker. Color settings, temperature, you can adjust your temperature by bringing it down. Usually I bring it down to around 4 or 5, because I noticed that temperature is usually warm, always warmer in Photomatix. Saturation, highlights, most of the times I'll leave it the way it is, but sometimes I like to crank it up to bring out the colors up here in the sky. Shadow or saturation shadows, I'll leave it the way it is. It rarely does anything, so I'll just go ahead and leave that there. Micro smoothing, okay, if you leave this like this all the way to 0, it will give you a lot more contrast, but if you crank it all the way up to 30, that will smooth out a lot of your image, but you lose a lot of contrast and detail. Highlight and smoothness, the last three settings here I rarely mess with, so I'm gonna let you mess with it if you need to figure out what it does. Like I said, there's no need to go into it if I never use it. So, and that's it for all the settings. I'm gonna go ahead and load the setting that I saved for this, so I don't have to figure out what I did before. And this is pretty much what I did before. And once you get your HDR image looking the way you want it to look, go ahead and hit process, and HDR or Photomatix will start processing your image, and you will get your HDR photo here. What you need to do now is just save it and you're done. Alright, so let me go ahead and save my file. I'm just going to save it as HDR, and then I'm going to show you what we started out with, the exposure we started out with. This is the original exposure here, and then I'm going to show you the final HDR image that we just got done merging in Photomatix. That concludes our tutorial for Chapter 4. I'll see you in Chapter 5, where we will enhance our HDR image to make it look even better. So until next time, this is Captain Chemo signing out.